You're listening to The Snipers Club. I'm your host, The Sniper, and we're covering boxing today with our boxing expert, the Night Watchman. Welcome, Night Watchman. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, not bad, Snipes. How are you, mate? You all good?
Very good, thanks, mate. Looking forward to this podcast because we've got a massive card for the 23rd, which should whet our appetites for Christmas, right?
Yeah, massive doesn't even cover it. It's a huge card. It's enormous. Saudis have gone absolutely to town, packed it with loads of big names. Got some interesting picks for you, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah? Cool. So who are you looking forward to seeing most? Are you looking forward to seeing one of the big names? Or is there someone people might not have heard of that you've got your eye on?
Well, there's a few interesting cards at the end. I mean, look, the big fights at the end are of huge interest to me. You've got three very, very big fights, all of which I will be covering in my picks.
Who are they? Which are the main fights that night?
Well, we've got Deontay Wilder is going up against Joseph Parker.
Okay.
That's going to be an interesting one. I mean, Wilder's got some real Hollywood in those fists, I tell you. And then we've got Anthony Joshua, who's going against the underrated Swede Otto Wallin.
Yeah.
Who once gave Tyson Fury a hell of a night. I don't know if you remember that recently.
Yeah, he did. He cut him, didn't he?
He cut him, took him to the cards, gave him a rough night. And it was just, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one for AJ, certainly. It's going to be a hell of a fight, I think.
Okay.
And then I've also got another one that also kind of snuck around, and we've got Daniel Dubious Dubois.
Yeah. Not a fan of his personally.
Not a fan. I mean, there was a time where I thought he looked very good, but he's gone a bit David Price down the end.
David Price or David Hay? I mean, I couldn't stand David Hay. I thought he was so overrated.
David Hay could box. That's the only difference. He was lacking in reach in a division full of monsters, but he could throw a punch.
We had a good nickname, but he didn't live up to his nickname, the Haymaker, did he? Didn't see many of those.
I don't think that's necessarily true. He had some massive knockouts. I mean, he nearly tonked Valiev, if you don't remember. You remember him dancing around the ring after he absolutely clopped him straight in the face.
Last person I remember dancing around the ring, mate, was Prince Nassim Hamed. Now there was a boxer.
Oh man, if only he could. If only. Oh, Prince Nassim, my favourite of all time.
Anyway,
yeah.
The Sniper's friends with his brother. So if you're listening, Nassim's brother, we say hello to you from the Snipers Club and hope to see you again soon. Right, mate, let's kick off. Where do you want to start on this card?
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to go through a little bit of ones that may have dipped under the radar, a couple of the middle card fights, a bit of Australian involvement in these ones. So
sounds good.
So it could be quite interesting. The first one I've got is Big Bad Jay Opetaia going up against quite an unknown entity in a quiet Brit called Ellis Zorro. I don't know if you know about this, but Opetaia has recently vacated his IBF belt because of a dispute of some kind of boxing nonsense that usually happens. But Opetaia, I fancy him to go in for a big finish on this one. So I've given him the first 6 rounds because he does like to dismantle his opponents, but a lot of his finishes come early. This guy is come up from nothing. Some of the guys he fought are absolute bin men with absolute dreadful records,
right,
fighting in leisure centres in the north of England. And they're going up against an animal, an absolute beast like Opetaia. Are you kidding me? So yeah, I fancy your first 6 rounds on that. You'll get that on William Hill and Sky Bet at $2.
What do you mean, a knockout or just a...
No, a stoppage within the first 6 rounds in favour of Opetaia.
Nice. And what's Opetaia's record like? Let's have a quick look at that.
He's got 23 wins, 18 of those in KO, but you can always look at a couple of those from the very beginning because they're sort of like 3 rounds, 4 rounds. Like, you know, if they go the distance, you don't really put a balance on those.
Okay.
So the first couple of his fights, he went the distance, 1 in 4 rounds, 1 in 6, but ever since then, he's been absolutely ripping guys apart.
Nice.
Absolutely destroying them. I mean, he never stops coming forward. He's got some absolutely heavyweight hitting. He's tougher than leather. He's tough as leather. Mate, this Ellis Zorro needs to be, like, unless they're keeping the biggest secret in the history of boxing there, he's getting bulldozed and fit and quick.
In case any of the listeners are looking to try and get a round bet in, when does he tend to knock guys out?
He likes to go between sort of the 4th to the 6th round, does Jay Opetaia. That's what it gives him a chance to sort of nip between them, get to know the measure of them, and then he'll just flatten them beats him up a little bit, like a good boxer should.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw quite a lot of twos on there, so he was knocking people out in round twos. Are they the bin men that you're talking about that he was knocking out in that time frame?
These guys are absolute no-names, like sort of mid-range records, already got 10 losses under their belts and things like that. I mean, a few of them are actually quite good, in fairness. This Curtis Pagoro seemed all right. He's doing it in sort of Asia-Pacific title fights and Oriental title fights and things like that. Okay. He's fighting guys who know how to win, but just perhaps haven't made it to the big time. And that's how he's got to the second round. But yeah, like I said, first 6 rounds, I think that's a good safe.
Nice, mate. What have we got next on the menu?
Next on the menu, we've got another Australian, Mark de Mori, going up against the rather unbeaten and rather brutal-looking Filip Hrgović.
All right, I don't know much about Hrgović at all.
Hrgović is this Croatian guy. He's the next big thing coming through. He's got a hell of an amateur pedigree. He looks pretty tough. He's got a 16-fight career with 13 KOs. Had a fight against Zhili Zhang a little while ago where he was lucky, I think, that Zhili Zhang gassed out. I mean, Zhili Zhang's an old man. That's unfortunate for him, really. He can hit, but once you get to 8 or 9 rounds, the fitness of Hrgović kind of showed through and was very good. Okay. And then you got Mark de Mori, who has been a bit off the radar. He had a fight against David Haye 7 years ago where Haye caught him with one of those haymakers that you deny exist.
Yeah, I'd missed that fight completely.
No, he caught him in the first round, and this seems to have gone against him. I mean, but he's been slowly plodding through. He's got a hell of a KO record over the last 6 or 7 years. He's not been afraid to have a fight, and he can have a go, can Mark de Mori. I think anyone can get knocked out in a round. I once watched George Linares get knocked out in a round, and that guy's one of the toughest bastards you'll ever see in the world, mate.
Nice.
Sometimes you just get caught, and I think de Mori just got caught.
Okay. So what have you got on the? What do you like in this fight?
What, Hrgović versus de Mori?
Yes.
Well, I think there's a nice chunky one on this because I think the bookies have done de Mori a huge disservice here. With Bet365, I've got him on $2 that he has to last till the end of the second round.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's a bit hard. They're looking at the Haye fight from 7 years ago and going, nope, he's a chump, he's got a glass chin, he's got no chance. And I think that's completely unfair. He's had 7 years of consistent, solid, straight wins.
Nice.
I mean, let's have a look at how many he's had. And they've all been, a lot of them have been KOs. He's been really absolutely hammering it. He's a good lad, is Mark de Mori.
Is that best bet material for the card?
Oh, it's one of the good ones. It's definitely one of the good ones. I've got another sneaky one for you in a little bit though, mate, so don't worry about that.
Okay, cool. Right, so do you have any other selections for this?
Well, after that, those are my two sneaky ones under the radar.
Yeah.
I kind of want to give you ones for the big fights because that's where the interest is for me, and that's where I think there's some good value going on there.
Okay. Have we got one more Aussie to cover? So we had de Mori, we've had Opetaia. Is there one more Aussie on the card? No? Is that it?
That's the only two. There's another Aussie on the card, and that's Junior Farr.
Yeah.
And he's going up against Frank Sanchez. But I've got to be honest, I don't fancy Junior Farr at all in that one, I think.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on then, mate.
Okay, so we've got at the top of the bill, let's start from there, we've got Deontay Wilder up against Joseph Parker. Now, I like Joseph Parker, he's a good all-round boxer, he can swing, but Wilder, like I said, he's got pure Hollywood in his fists, mate. Yeah. Absolutely love it. You know that any point in 12 rounds he could be losing, he could be getting beaten, but suddenly that thunder will come out of his straight right and that guy will be folded up like a deck chair on the canvas. Yeah. And I can't see any reason why Parker's not going to end up the same way.
Wow.
So if you want a Deontay Wilder to win for a KO, you'll get it at $1.36 and that's with SpreadX. I mean, he's knocked out every guy he's seen, including Fury, who got up out of some miracle.
Yeah.
There's no reason to think Joseph Parker's going to last 12 rounds with these guys, and Wilder's going to absolutely flatten him.
That was a great highlights reel we posted on the Discord. So if you guys haven't seen it yet, go onto our Discord, go onto Boxing Chat, click on the link. It's a beautiful YouTube video that really showcases Deontay's abilities and the method of his KOs, and they are absolutely brutal. So do give that a watch. If anyone's looking for specific rounds, mate, and we're not going to put them up as selections, but can you give them a few pointers?
A few pointers?
For the knockout in this fight, when would you anticipate it?
When it could happen at any time.
That's not particularly helpful.
I know. I'm sorry, but that's the thing with Deontay Wilder. He just swings. It comes out. It can come out in the first round. It can come out in the 10th. But it will. All I will say is, it's coming.
So just avoid trying to pick around. Go for the safe one in here. Enjoy the fight.
Yeah, enjoy the fight because it's going to happen. You're going to be off your feet, looking at the screen, going, ooh. Every time. He never disappoints us, Wilder. He is wild. Lives up to his name every day.
All right, mate. Shall we move on to the next one?
Okay, so now this is a bit of we touched on this one a little bit earlier, but I'm not too sure if you agree with me on this one, Sniper, but I've got to go for it. So we've got Anthony Joshua versus Otto Wallin.
Yeah, you know my thoughts on Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, and you know mine as well. I'm not a big fan of Anthony Joshua. I think he's been flattened. I think he's finished. I think he's broken. And he's going up against Otto Wallin, who is a underrated machine of a boxer. But the thing is, no one really cares about a dodgy Swede, do they? I think he's the best heavyweight boxer since Ingemar Johansson, which is really saying something. It's been 50 years Sweden have been waiting for a guy like this.
Yeah.
And you look at his record, he gave Fury a hell of a night. In his last fight, he was fighting Murat Gassiev. Been in both instances. He's been by far the underdog, and he's come in and he's put in a hell of a performance. Gassiev, he's coming up from cruiserweight, but he's got a hell of a punch on him. And although it came as a split decision, I think Wallin run that pretty comfortably. I think he was excellent counter-punching. He's tough as old boots. He can really, really go for it. Now, the only thing, I would normally back Wallin to win this one, but I don't trust the Saudis with their cards. I think they're waiting for Usyk Fury next year so they can put Wilder Joshua on the card.
So you think they want the poster boy, Anthony Joshua, who gets paid millions and millions for advertising and sponsorship to make it through, irrespective of how good a boxer he is? I don't even think he's a boxer. I think he's an athlete. I think he could have been playing American football. He could have been an athlete running in the Olympics, something along those lines. He's just not a natural boxer for me. So I'm always in favour of opposing Anthony Joshua. You think there's a little bit of conspiracy here?
Not even a little bit, mate. I think there's a full-blown conspiracy. You only have to look at Fury Ngannou the other week. That was a sparring match for Fury and he didn't really care, but Ngannou won that fight. But they can't be ruining their cards. The Saudis want big names. They don't care how good they are. Look at Neymar in the football. He's pants and they're paying him $1 million a week. It's a joke. It's just, Wallin is a sacrificial lamb, unfortunately. But I think he's going to surprise a few people, and I think he's going to give AJ the fight of his life.
Nice.
He's going to lose. Wallin's going to lose that card, but he's going to win the hearts and minds of everyone and win it. Win it deep down. We all know he won.
Nice, mate. So what's your pick for this game? For this fight, then?
Purely because I just do not trust those Saudi scorecards. I've gone for AJ and Wallin for the fight to go the distance, irrespective of the decision. And you'll get that on Sky Bet at $1.66. Okay. And I think Wallin he's tough enough to take it. I wonder if he's tough enough to give it.
That's my next question. Has he? What's his knockout rate like?
It's fairly average, but he's like a good boxer. He likes to sort of dance around and take players apart. He's very good. His knockout record is... Sorry, I'm going to have to go through it. Bear with me. He's got a 50% knockout record in his fights. He's got 28 fights, 14 wins, 1 loss, and there was a no contest which he won.
Okay.
So yeah, it's he's a technical boxer. He's got the skill, he's got the speed, which is another thing that I think AJ is going to struggle with because he throws them slow. They're big, but you can see him coming. Yeah. And Wallin, he can counter punch, he can move, he can bob, he can weave. He's a slick boy. I like him.
Is he as slick as our friend Ruiz that did Joshua a couple of years back?
I wouldn't call Ruiz slick. I'd say he's a beast. But mate, he absolutely tonked him, didn't he? Cool. But this is the thing. Ever since then with AJ, mate, he's not looked too great, has he? He's come in and he's fought a few guys who he should beat, and he's beaten them. Journeyman. That's exactly it. Not nearly there, but not quite. People like Povetkin, like Pulev, they're great fighters, but they're not great fighters. They're not champions. Yeah. And he knows that. And what was the last one? Robert Helenius?
Yeah.
He was finished years ago. I feel bad for Robert Helenius. He just had about horrible contracts with dispute that kept him out of the ring for a long time. He could have been great, but he wasn't great when AJ fought him, and he certainly
Okay, fair enough. Is that all we've got for that fight? Do you want to move on now?
I've got one more, I've got one more big one. Now, this is an interesting one because no one really likes to see this one, but like I said, we've got Daniel Dubious Dubois going up against Jarrell Big Baby Miller.
Yeah.
I think the bookies have missed.
I do like Miller here.
Yeah, it's absolutely unbelievable. I mean, like I said, Daniel Dubois, he's like I said, he's a bit of a David Price type. He looks slick and he's got the muscles and he's got the speed and he's got a bit of power, but he's got no heart and he goes down and he's got a jaw like Waterford Crystal, mate. Absolutely can't believe it. And he's fighting a similar guy to Joe Joyce, who he lost to a few fights ago. And Joe Joyce was a tank and absolutely went through him, absolutely flattened him, lost his heart, was on the floor knowing he was beaten.
What, did he knock him out?
Yep, knocked him out to stoppage.
What round?
It was 8th or 9th.
Okay, fair enough.
It was somewhere relatively late where Dubois ran out of steam and Joe Joyce just went straight into him. Now the thing is though, Joe Joyce and Jarrell Miller are similar fighters, although I would argue that Jarrell Miller is better.
Yeah.
He's an absolute, I mean, you've seen him, that guy's an absolute monster.
I've seen the clips. He looks like a bear.
Yeah,
He's
he doesn't. He looks like a big baby. He's just absolutely. But he is absolutely one of the toughest. He never stops coming forward. No matter how hard he's hit. He's always going. He's really great on the inside. I mean, in his last fight against Lucas Brown, Lucas Brown's a good fighter, but he can throw some bombs. He's got some serious knockout power. But Miller ate it for breakfast and licked his lips looking for more as he just kept going in and going in and going in and smashing him in the face until Lucas Brown went down.
Right.
Daniel Dubois is going up against another fight like that. And I'm not even too sure what he's doing on this, what his trainers and what his management team are thinking.
Well, they want a payday, don't they? They want a big payday.
Well, if they want a payday, they want Dubois to carry on going and becoming a real champion. I mean, he had that fight against Usyk where Usyk got punched in the testicles, apparently. I don't know. Very freakish to have your testicles up by your belly button, but hey. The belt line is the belt line, I guess. But Dubois got flattened once again. His heart let him down. He got floored and he didn't have it in him. He should have been a champion, but he didn't have it in him, and that's why he lost. Okay. Jarrell Miller should be a champion. Jarrell Miller was the guy who AJ should have fought when Ruiz beat him.
Ooh, that would have been dangerous as well. He may not have made it through that.
What, AJ?
Yeah, he would have beaten him, from what I've seen.
No, the way AJ fought in that fight?
Yeah.
And then the way that Miller comes in and goes in? I mean, he's not only that, he's a bit of a naughty boy, is Miller. He's a bit of a steroid-fueled monster as well. So, he's had a couple of bans for it, but he's been clean for a few years now, but he's still got the size, he's still got the power, and he's still got the go.
Sounds good, mate. So what's your selection for this?
On that one, I have got Jarrell Miller to win, and that is at $4, and that is generally available everywhere.
What price would you have him at if you were making the odds?
If I was making odds, I'd have him at half that, maybe even less.
Really?
I'd have Miller as the favourite. I think Dubois is a classic British hype job going in against an unfancied American who's maybe their style they don't like, or they don't like the look of him and the physical nature of it. I mean, they pick crap boxers. Sometimes the bookies, and they don't really know what they're doing, and this is, I think, is one of the instances where they're doing that.
Sounds good, mate. Do you want to give us a recap? Is that the last fight we're covering?
That's fine. So, those are the 5 fights I've got today. I'll just go over everything for you. So, to start with, I've got Jay Opetaia versus Ellis Zorro, and that's to finish in the first 6 rounds, and that's $2 with William Hill and Skybet. After that, we've got Filip Hrgovic versus Mark Mori, and that's to last over 2.5 rounds, and that's also $2, and that's with Bet365. And then we've got the big fight. So we'll start off, we've got Deontay Wilder versus Joseph Parker, and I've got that Wilder to win by stoppage, and that's at $1.36. I've got Otto Wallin versus Anthony Joshua to go the distance, and that's at $1.66 with both Bet365 and Skybet. And then my big one at the end, I've got Jarrell Miller versus Daniel Dubois, and I've got that at $4, and that's generally available everywhere.
Sounds good, mate. So you level staking these all for 1 point again?
I am level staking these all for 1 point again.
Great. So guys, you'll be able to find these selections officially on our Discord and on our Telegram channels. So there'll be a recap on there for you. That'll be out a little bit later on today. I'm your host, The Sniper. You've been listening to The Snipers Club. Thank you very much to the Night Watchman for his thoughts.
And thank you, Sniper, and thank you, members of the Snipers Club.
Thank you.